When you're talking about pellet waggler fishing and waggler fishing for carp, it's important that you don't get a little bit misled and go down the route of fishing very, very light main lines, because it enables you to use light floats. Obviously there are times I will use light mainline when I'm looking to dob fish with a waggler, use tiny little wagglers, casting at fish, but that's completely separate. What I'm talking about is proper pellet waggler fishing where you're loose feeding and casting very regular. 8 pound hyper sensor mainline is the lightest I will go. Yes, I do have to use a slightly bigger float, but I'm quite happy to do that if it gives me that strength and durability. The rod I've set up for today, 11-foot pellet waggler, one of the Air rods, fantastic rod. It's very, very light, very stiff, easy to use, and because you're very, very busy when you're pellet waggler fishing, you don't want a massively long rod like 13, 14 foot. 10, 11, 12 foot maximum, but 11 is the number one. 3000 TDX reel, again like I've already said, it's loaded with 8 pound hyper sensor. It's a polished line, it's very, very strong, very durable, but it's got that nice smooth feel to it, which allows you to cast nice and far with say an 8 or a 9 gram waggler. Coming down to the business end, as a lot of you may know, I do like to make my own pellet wagglers, but there's some very, very good ones on the market. The Drennan ones in particular, the crystal ones are absolutely fantastic. The Guru ones are good. So like I say, I only make mine because I'm very fussy about the way that they sit and the way they fly. And also, I've made these before the production ones that you could buy were really any good. Since the Drennan ones have come out and the Guru ones, there's no need to really make them. In fact, I've been using the Drennan and the Guru ones quite extensively. The Drennan ones all through the winter because it offers me that invisible sort of, the clear side of it. Again, you know I'm a massive fan of disguising my rig, and this obviously helps. So the waggler is just a bulk standard waggler, 9 gram. One very good tip when you're waggler fishing, obviously I'm using line stops to just stop the float, all the loadings in the float, 1 above the float and 3 below. And this is very, very important. I see a lot of people making the mistake of putting 1 either side. When you're really casting the float, punching it just to try to get it out that extra bit of distance, and there's 1 below, that can all slide down. Obviously that feels really horrible on the cast, and it can also affect the depth that you're fishing at. So coming down the line, in my rig I've incorporated a swivel. Again, pellet waggler fishing is a busy method. You're not casting it out there and leaving it there half hour. You cast it out, you feed, you're bringing it in, you cast it out, you feed. And obviously the amount of retrieving you're doing can create quite a lot of spin on the hook length, and that's where a very small size 24 swivel comes into it. So that's the swivel. You might notice that the loops are quite big. And because I'm looking to catch fish as my float hits the water and on the drop, those bigger loops will just take slightly longer to sink, just holding everything up, just fractionally. But I've always been a fan of using bigger loops on my pellet waggler hook length. The hook length's 2.5 foot long, again all pre-tied at home. The hook, this is quite a strange choice. A lot of people don't like these for anything other than say bomb or method feeder fishing, but it's actually a Guru QM1 size 12. Going back a winter or two ago, I had a problem with losing odd fish on a waggler. Casting big wagglers like a 14, 16 gram Drennan clear pellet waggler out to the middle, and I was losing odd fish. And I thought, well, I never lose fish on QM1, so I tried it on a waggler and I've not looked back. Trust me, if you're catching big carp on a waggler, give these hooks a go because they are absolutely fantastic. One little tip as far as when you're positioning the swivel, always make sure that the swivel is lower down the line than the pellet waggler. If the swivel, for instance, is here, it can wrap around the line because it's heavy and cause tangles. And like I've already said, pellet waggler fishing is about being fast and efficient. You whiz the float in, you cast, you feed, you whiz it in, and you're working all the time. One of my mottos with pellet waggler is because 99% of your bites come as your float hits the water. The more times your float hits the water, the more bites you're going to get. So it's a very simple but strong and durable setup.